Russell Wilson. He goes to Dallas, his rookie year, best passer rating of his career, his rookie year. His best completion percentage of his career, Dak's rookie year. His lowest number of interceptions thrown, his rookie year. His most wins, his rookie year. His first game, preseason game against the Rams, their first game back in Los Angeles, exhibition, he crushes it. Dak has gotten worse every year. Last year, he was almost a liability at the end of the year. But our first impression with Dak is, look at that, man. And the Cowboys were an organization that didn't have a great defense. Jason Garrett's good. He's not a rock star, maligned. And it was an organization post-Romo that was seeking something. Seattle wasn't seeking anything. It was beast mode. It was Pete. It was the defense. This happens all the time, your first impressions. Odell Beckham's first 3 years in the NFL. Everybody called him Randy Moss. He had first 3 years, 90 catches a year, 10 touchdowns a year, 1,300 yards a year. Oh, my God. His first 3 years, the first impression on Odell Beckham was, oh, my God, he's the next Randy Moss. Since then, he can't stay healthy, has 13 touchdowns total, and doesn't appear to work with Baker Mayfield. But we still think a top guy in the league. No, he's not. Ndamukong Suh. Ndamukong Suh comes into this league, an interior lineman. He has a profound college career. He's called the strongest college football player ever. Ndamukong Suh comes into the NFL. He goes and has 10 sacks as an interior defensive lineman his first year. Never duplicated that. In 10 years, he's got 58 career sacks. He's now an undisciplined, bad locker room, average interior lineman. That's all he is. But you say Ndamukong Suh, it's, we landed Ndamukong Suh. Coaches don't like him. That's why he always ends up 1 year out. Odell Beckham, Prescott, Odell Beckham. If you make a great first impression, we cling to it forever. Forever. And if you have a rough first impression or aren't deemed crucial, it's hard for us to put our arms around it. I mean, think about Seattle now. Their defense isn't even special. Last year, Seattle was 26th in yards allowed and 22nd in points allowed. Their defense is no longer special, and they still get to the playoffs. Their offensive line's been garbage for 7 years. It's the minute they let go of Max Unger at center, it's just never recovered. Wide receivers, best one they ever had was undrafted. So when you come into this league, like people are struggling to acknowledge Aaron Rodgers appears to be declining. It's gradual, but he's not quite Aaron Rodgers because he came into the league. He was so robust and dynamic, and it's like he's great. Hasn't been really great lately. Hasn't really been great. Odell Beckham can't stay healthy. Ndamukong Suh's undisciplined, doesn't get you many sacks. Coaches don't like him. Russell Wilson's unbelievable, but he burst onto the scene where you got the rock star coach, and the beast mode, and the Legion of Boom, and the great fan base, and they win, and kind of despite Russell. Plus, he didn't look the part. Runs around a little bit. 8 years ago, that was like unique and different and weird, and it's not going to last. Now he gets guys drafted. So I think when that all-decade team are often punished for how we're initially introduced. And that's the way it is. Sorry. Is Klatt ready to go? Is he ready? Via the Coward Global Satellite Network, let's bring on the Klattster. Fresh off.
What's going on, man?
Man, I'm all worked up supporting Russell Wilson.
I guess.
By the way, when he was at Wisconsin, you're like an encyclopedia for college football. Mm-hmm. Do you remember Russell? I remember him at NC State. Do you remember how he changed Wisconsin football for a year? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Go back
100%. To that point, now we've seen it broken, it seems like every single year. But remember, Colin, to that point, that was the most efficient college football season we've ever seen from a quarterback. He set the QBR standard or rating standard for the history of college football in one season. He went in there and was a captain right away. He is the reason, the catalyst, why this graduate transfer rule has become so in vogue throughout college football because of what happened at Wisconsin. And they almost went and won the Rose Bowl. Remember, it was the great TCU team with Andy Dalton. I think Tank Carter was a linebacker that actually beat them in the Rose Bowl, or else they would have been Rose Bowl champions. That was a really good football team. And the reason was Russell Wilson. It was a fascinating year.
So I was told a couple of days ago that expect the Pac-12 at least to play a condensed Pac-12 schedule. No traveling, no out of conference, no out of region. It is going to be condensed if they can get it in the fall. And with California's legislators, governor, mayor of L.A., we're not sure that's true. Your thought on games being played just regionalized, Big Ten versus Big Ten, SEC versus SEC. How's that land for you?
Okay, so the first thing is nothing has been decided firmly, and they're talking about all sorts of situations and plans for the season. I think I would start with this, Colin, and I want to make this abundantly clear. I absolutely believe there will be college football this fall in some capacity. There's no doubt in my mind it's going to happen. Now, what it looks like, that's what then we get into this minutia. What does it look like? Are we just going to do conference schedules? I've heard every commissioner and a lot of ADs talk about trying to get to those conference schedules right away. When the weather is warm, they feel like they have a window of opportunity early in the season to potentially play just conference teams. Like you said, it would reduce the amount of travel. The hard part with that is that there is some large revenue games that are scheduled right now in the non-league. So, and in particular, Notre Dame is out there looking at their ACC schedule with their scheduling partnership and what they could possibly do outside of this. Now, I want to go back to where you initially started, which is the Pac-12. And you talked about they were talking about condensed schedules and so on and so forth. I want to be very clear about this. Larry Scott does not have the political capital to get that conference to behave as one. Okay, so what's going to happen in the Pac-12 if there's a conference that is most likely to be fractured, one school playing in one state against some other team, regardless of what's going on elsewhere in the conference, it will be the Pac-12. In fact, I've been told by multiple sources that the ADs have had conversations behind the conference's back that would tell each other, listen, if we're unable to play via a mayor's ruling, a state governor's ruling, you guys go ahead and look out for yourself. And in fact, some of the ADs in states that really believe that they will have football have offered, specifically the California schools, and some have offered even the Oregon schools, the chance to come play home games in their state. So if we make any sort of assertion about what we think that this is going to look like, I think we would be jumping way ahead of where they're at in the process right now, because everything's on the table in the Pac-12. And make no bones about it, the ADs are the one driving that bus, because Larry Scott does not have the political capital to get them to all as one.
So I was saying this earlier. I don't believe in these garage bands that just never got a break. It doesn't matter. The Beatles weren't even from here. U2's not from here. If you're talented today, America finds you and compensates you. Ricky Gervais is not from here. We found him and we love him. I don't buy that Jarrett Stidham is this secret sauce. He got drafted in the 4th round. Nobody was outraged. He played at a massive power with NFL guys everywhere. He beat Alabama. Now all these football insiders are like, ooh, he's special. Oh, Belichick was willing to move off Brady after he won a Super Bowl with Garoppolo. Belichick, though, with an older Brady off a bad season, wanted Tom to re-sign with Jarrett Stidham there. Is it possible? Stidham, you saw him play, Joel. Stidham's he's okay. He's average.
And remember, he was a transfer. You know, he started his career at Baylor. Not many people remember that, and remember how hard you've been on our boy, the first pick, Joe Burrow, for having to transfer away from Ohio State. But I will tell you this, that there is no secret sauce. And I think we attribute, as sports fans, in particular in the football arena, I think that we attribute way too much secret sauce to New England, right? I think a large reason why Tom Brady struggled is because Bill Belichick, the GM, failed him. Who did he have to throw to? Put his eggs in the basket of what? Antonio Brown? Like, you know, what are we talking about? So to a large extent, I think that people view New England and the quarterback position at New England through this lens that they're going to win 11 games and you know, almost make the playoffs regardless of what happened with Tom Brady, because of what happened with him when he tore his ACL. Remember when Matt Castle won 11 games, they missed the playoffs, and it was like, oh my gosh, Bill Belichick's the greatest thing since sliced bread, and he might be the greatest coach of all time. But I will tell you, there's no secret sauce, and Bill Belichick have offered Tom Brady a contract, even if Tom Brady felt like that was a bit of a slight, if he felt like Jared Stidham was a better option. In no semblance of reality is Jared Stidham a better option at quarterback for the New England Patriots than Tom Brady, period.
You have a baseball career and a football background. So I was saying earlier, there are athletes in my life that do things that are not explained. Russell Wilson never gets hit. You cannot explain it. Lamar does. Carson Wentz does. Mahomes does. Russell never gets hit. Mariano Rivera, one pitch. Nobody could hit it for 20 years. That's never happened in the history of baseball. When people